Sorry for the lateness of this review, but last night I was at a Halloween party getting my Urahara on. But Fairy Tail episode 154, I want to start off by saying that this episode was much better than last week's episode. Some stuff actually happens opposed to just a random, loss of time. So it starts off with getting introductions to some of the teams that are going to be in the Grand Magic Games. I believe we see Lamia Scale, which we haven't seen them for a while, Raven Tail, and we also get to see Rogue and Sting again from Sabretooth. And I like the way Raven Tail looks animated, especially Flare. She looks really cool and sadistic the way she looks in the manga, so I really like the way they did that. I hope we get to see a lot more of her in the anime than we actually do in the manga, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I like seeing the groups. They look kind of cool and whatnot. Animation this episode, it was like, there was a very awesome moment, and I'll get to that later, but for the most part it was average up until like a certain point. Then there's like a really good, beautifully animated scene, and then like it's just average, so it wasn't nothing special. And basically after losing all that time, Erza and Natsu are like, we still got 5 days, let's train. And I love that about Erza. She is like, this is what we need out of shonen females. I always say it because Erza's like, no, we got time, we're gonna train. She's badass, she's cool, she likes to train, she likes to get stronger. Natsu's along with her, but Erza's the pioneer. So I really like that about Erza. She's like, getting ready, let's go, we got 5 days, that's more than enough to get beefed up. But they get that pigeon letter on the pigeon or whatever, and they go to meet who it is. And I kind of like the mystique of it. If you don't know what happened in the manga, it's like, ooh, what's going on with that? So that was kind of interesting the way it was done with the pigeon. Let's meet at the bridge, and then basically when we get to the bridge, we see that it is actually Jellal, Meldy, and Ultir. And I was actually excited to see Jellal because in the anime, it's been a long time since we've seen him. You can see that Erza gets really like butterflies and like, oh shit, what's gonna happen. And basically he broke out of prison, or they broke him out even though he didn't want to, and I believe that was 6 years ago. I'm really glad that Jellal, speaking from the anime only, just to see him back and in action is kind of cool, because he was one of definitely Fairy Tail's badasses, even though it was Michigan and vice versa. But still, to see him and to see that he's grown character-wise, he's changed a bit. He got his memories back, but he's grown a lot more from that evilness that he had. And I really just like seeing how the character has changed quite a bit. And basically what they came to do is they wanted to ask Fairy Tail, since they're going to be a part of the Grand Magic Games, please scope it out because there's some dark energy. And automatically, like when I was reading this in the manga, I remember, and once again it came back to me, it kind of just reminded me a little bit of Dragon Ball Z's World Tournament, where like there was this magic and some behind the scenes dark stuff going on, and they're getting ready for that. So I really like the vibe. Obviously it's not the most original thing or anything like that, but it's still kind of cool. And there also are a couple other things in this episode that kind of reminded me of like other series. And again, Fairy Tail isn't the most original, but when he does do it, he tries to tweak it up a little bit to do it his own way, I guess as a reward for agreeing with Ultir and them to scope out the Grand Magic Games for this dark energy. Ultir says she's going to use her Evolve Time arc, which basically will unlock some hidden magic. And once again, like I was saying, that this is reminding me of other stuff, it kind of reminds me of Dragon Ball Z when they were on Namek and they were awakening their hidden abilities. I believe it was Krillin and Gohan. So it kind of reminds me there. Again, not the most original, but he tweaks it his own way. It's basically a magic that they never really use, and that's going to be awakened so they can get a lot stronger. To be honest with you, I would have preferred if Hero would have just did a standard, okay, it's time to train, and he just says the time went by. I would have preferred that instead of this whole thing of they need the power up and everything. But I guess Hero was more so going for the light comedy of it, like, oh, we lost time and we need to do this and that. He likes to try to do it a little bit more original than just a little more time went by and they trained, which I guess on the originality side is kind of cool, but at the same time it's like I just would have preferred for them to train Erza badassness. So it's a give and take with that situation. It's like, it's cheap in a way, like, oh, we're just getting a power-up. And it's not necessarily a power-up, it's more so their own abilities, but still, it's like they could have easily just had a training moment. Hero could have just had it that they trained, but originality is cool, but at the same time, it just wasn't like the most craziest thing that they could have done. It could have just been simplified as training, and no complaints here. We got an Erza Jellal moment, which I really enjoyed, to be honest. That was my favorite part of the episode, but not without complaints as well. The rest of the episode was just kind of simple animation. Sometimes it kind of looked a little wonky, but that particular scene with all the like gold looking stuff just flying everywhere, it just looked really beautiful. But then Jellal did something that was like, oh, he basically pushes Erza away right when they about to kiss and is like, oh, I got a fiance. Pulling that shonen card of being embarrassed and making up any excuse. I guess I gotta get used to that, because at the end of the day, that's mostly shonen, but at the same time, it's like, how old is Jellal? What, 20s, 30s, and he's pulling that stuff. I mean, I'd understand if he was 15, 16, alright, whatever, you're shy, but come on, dude, you're a grown man. Take that girl and do what you need to do. And I really got a kick out of the end when Happy made that joke of the broken heart. I was like, oh man, Happy he always does something funny and stupid at the end. All around, I like this episode. It was much better than last week's episode, because last week, really, nothing happened. It was just pointless, but this week, we got a couple of things accomplished. Complaints with, as far as, like, we had originality, but at the same time, it was a little cheap the way they just got a power up. But at the same time, you can't harp on it too much, because other series have done that in the past, so you know, they've had power-ups where it's like, oh, you know, just randomly they get power-ups, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. It's not that big of an issue. The Jellal thing is, like, it was beautifully done, and I like the way it was, you know, approached as far as animation-wise, but come on, Jellal, you're a grown man. Stop that shonen 16-year-old bullcrap. Let me know what you thought of the episode. What did you think about that Erza and Jellal scene? Were you like, Jellal, what's wrong with you? Should Erza, like, just lay off the guy, really, like, move up to the side and, like, go for somebody like Laxus, or do you think that she's more appropriate with him? And what is your thoughts on this whole power-up thing of them just getting this, I guess, awakened magic ability instead of training? Do you think they should have just straight up trained, or you like the originality of it as far as, like, you know, their extra magic container inside of them? Let me know in the comment section below, or video response to your overall thoughts of this episode, because animation-wise, pretty simple, but had a beautiful moment in it, and all around, it had a nice amount of stuff to keep your interest, and it was enjoyable. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.